In the years since Palestinian American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh was shot dead in the West Bank, no one has yet been charged or held accountable. A veteran reporter for Al Jazeera, Shireen was a familiar face for many across the Arab world as she covered stories from the occupied Palestinian territories. On May 11, 2022, as she was reporting with her colleagues on an Israeli military raid in the Jenin refugee camp, she was shot and killed. Israeli defense forces initially pinned the attack on Palestinian gunmen, but later succumbed to international pressure and began their own examination into her killing. The IDF found she was likely shot dead by their own forces as they exchanged fire with Palestinian militants. Israel's army declined to make public the evidence of its review, but independent investigations by the Post and other news organizations found that no Palestinian gunmen were near Shireen and her colleagues when they were fired upon, even as she wore a vest with the word press marked in large letters.
The State Department and the Israeli narrative has sort of focused on this question of intentionality. Was it intended that she was killed? Was she targeted? And this really relies in part on this question of, were there other fighters around? Was there other exchanges of fire happening? And the Washington Post, United Nations, countless other media organizations, human rights groups have found that there were none to everyone's best knowledge.
This lack of accountability in Shireen's killing is pulled from a broader playbook used by the IDF, according to a new report issued by the Committee to Protect Journalists. CPJ's report focused on 20 reporters whose deaths were attributed to the IDF. It found the same script of preemptive denials of responsibility, discounting contrary evidence and witness testimony, and also closed internal investigations that might produce plausible culpability but never lead to any charges. To date, not a single person has been held accountable in any of these cases. The IDF provided a statement in response to the report saying it did not target non-combatants.
There is just a pattern of impunity when it comes to the killings of journalists by Israeli fire, as well as for Palestinians. There's very rarely, any kinds of investigations done.
The State Department determined that Israel's military was a likely culprit for Shireen's death, but it said it couldn't reach a definitive conclusion.
They found no reason to believe that it was an intentional killing, but rather the result of tragic circumstances in the course of a raid.
A separate investigation by the FBI was opened last November. Israel has so far refused to cooperate with that investigation and denounced it as meddling with its internal affairs, despite Shireen being an American citizen. The FBI probe has yet to release any public updates, and there's now growing concern that no one will be held accountable for Shireen's death.
Both for her as an American, as a journalist, and as a Palestinian. These are all elements of her identity, and given the track record, none of them bode well for justice being served.